far end by a man who was simply known as Kenya One. He was the man between the posts, and he would hold that fort like you'd never believe it. And the flamboyance and the braggadocio, if you will. Mohammud Abbas is in the house, all the way from Mombasa, my brother. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mr.
And of course, the man who wrote the book, Joe Kadenge, he collaborated with Joe, and I tell you, it's a great book. John Nene, veteran journalist with the BBC, is the man who wrote the book. By the way, his Twitter handle is @John_Nenes with a Z at the end. John_Nenes. Mine is @Koinange Jeff. Let's use the hashtag Living Legends. By the way, tweets coming in thick and fast, gentlemen. Gabriel Mutuma, you summarize it all when you say, I only wish the likes of Joe Kadenge lived in the United States where sports is appreciated. Kenya is no place for heroes. Joe, do you agree? He says Kenya's no place for heroes. Nobody recognizes you people after you retire.
So where do we go? It is our country. Where do we go? We run away from Kenya. We shall still remain here. It is our country.
Mahmoud, how do you feel? Because you know I used to come and watch you, man. I loved watching you because you were fearless. Even if your team was losing, you still made sure the opponents felt your presence. How do you feel now?
At the moment, I'm okay, but capital B, Mr. Jeff. Why our government doesn't recognize us? That's the big question. Twice it is settled with Mr. Kadenge. We faced our president and he told us he will do something. But until now, nothing has come.
Nothing?
We hope one day it will come.
Do you still hope, Abbas? Because, you know, it's so unfair. Many of your colleagues have died.
So many.
Many of them are very poor today.
Of course.
Hawana kitu ya kula, hawana mahali.
Of course.
Look what happened to the DRC the other day. Kabila akawapatia kila mtu SUV. He gave every player a Pajero or a Prado.
Because they won. They won, that's why they got that
It's an incentive, Joe. Even you people used to win.
No, without winning, he would have never given them if they lost.
Let me bring in John Nene here. John, you helped write this book, and by the way, you wanted to produce it in time for the 2010 World Cup.
Yep.
But you weren't able to.
Yeah, thanks Jeff. First, gota kwanza.
Nashukuru ndugu yangu.
Pamoja.
Asante.
Yeah, so thanks for inviting me to your show. It's really a pleasure to be with you, Jeff. We have been with you at KTN.
Yes.
Now we are here.
Reuters pia tulikuwa pamoja.
Oh yes, tulikagusa pamoja. So this book is 2010 when I wanted to do it, but then at that time Joe and Abbas, coincidentally they're here, they were invited. Some of the former star African players invited to grace the World Cup.
In South Africa?
In South Africa.
Hawa wawili?
Hawa wawili?
Yeah.
Walikuwa ndani.
But
so,
The only two of us.
yeah.
Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah. From Kenya.
So they were being honored outside Kenya.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, Jeff, this is Kenya. Even before we come to the book, one of the big problems we are facing in Kenya right now, and today we are saying maybe this show will be the game changer on how our sports celebrities are treated. And I hope all the big guns in the country, from the president,
Yes.
are watching this show. And let them know that players are mistreated, players are not recognized. Go to major games like the London Olympics, for instance. Players get $250 per day, okay? That's the lowest. And then now you come to the managers, okay? That's $300
A
per
day.
day. And then now we go to what they call the steering committee. Those ones get from $400 to $500.
Papa?
This is happening in Kenya, okay? So you ask yourself, why are players mistreated? The government really does not take into account what these people have done. I'll give you an example also. This one is the teams which have been preparing for the African qualifiers. The volleyballers, Malkia strikers, the women who have brought Kenya fame.
On the map.
The boxers, the Philippo Ringers. So they started preparing for the Yaoundé qualifiers in December last year. And you cannot believe it, Jeff. Since then, nobody from the government visited the team. They didn't know. They didn't want to know how they were doing. When I spoke to the coach, Jafet Munala, he was wondering, now when we go to Yaoundé, are we going to use the national anthem or the one from our sponsors? Okay, nobody went there. Even as they were leaving for Yaoundé yesterday morning, they were not sure whether they'll be accommodated because they had to borrow money for the air tickets.
No.
They left without the money for accommodation.
And by the way, Nene, if they win in Yaoundé, if they qualify, the officials will all be at the airport.
That's what they normally do here in Kenya.
Yes.
When the team does well, they are very good at that. In fact, we can say they have a talent for welcoming teams because you'll see all of them at the airports welcoming the team. When they did well in the Grand Prix,
yes.
Remember Ruto, the deputy president, William Ruto, invited them for breakfast. Well, that's okay. When they did well, the president also normally welcomes them to State House. But you see, what they're forgetting, the most important thing in sports is preparations. And if, as the government, you don't want to know how your teams are preparing, you only want to welcome them, doing the easiest thing to welcome them home.
Absolutely.
Then how are you helping them?
Abbas, let me ask you this. At the height of when you were playing, how much would you get after a game or per month? How much would you normally get?
First of all, let's go back to the Eastern Central. We won 3 times consecutive.
3 times?
National team, club, we got nothing, Mr. Jeff.
What do you mean?
We got nothing. 1984, Zambia won it. They asked, what is the price here? They were told nothing. They didn't participate until now, Zambia. They went to Central Africa because there's nothing here. But in 2000, Castle Larger came here and they said winners will get 2.5 million. That is the first time we knew there's a token if you win.
My God.
And if we go back in 1978, no, 87, when God won the Cup Winners' Cup.
Yes.
One game, they made 14 million, Mr. Jeff. They had nothing Gor Mahia. Nothing.
Huh?
They went to the official pockets.
The players got nothing.
It's unfair.
You mentioned an incident, Abbas, where you were invited to State House by former President Daniel Armoy.
Yes.
It
was 1987. We were playing Malawi semi-final. He told us, yes, he told us, if you qualify to the final, you'll get 100,000.
Each player?
Each player.
But what did you say? Because you spoke up.
I raised my arm. He said, Mswahili iko nini? So I told him, no, mzee. When I raised my hand,
yes.
Moi told me, Mswahili iko nini wewe? I told him, no, mzee, hii pesa ikija kwa hawa, hatupati hisi. So the president looked around. Ngei, nazigia Mswahili nasema nini Mswahili? So we went, after we beat Malawi by penalties. Replay. We were in the final. We lost 1-0 against Egypt. But the 100,000, when the State House, we got it.
Each player?
That's the only time we got the 100,000. But that time it was $1 million.
Yes. That was a lot of money.
Yes.
A lot of money.
We appreciate.
And that was the last one.
Joe, how much money, what's the most you got after a win?
I can't remember nothing. What win? There was nothing we were getting ourselves.
Come on, Joe.
Nothing. You know, I would even talk now, blaming my chairman who is now leaving. They are calling chairman of football the president. Me, I don't like up to this minute. We should have one president, only one president in this country.
Yeah.
When you talk of president, everybody, even a president of the small chama, you know,
the association.
We associations, it doesn't look nice. We have got one president. Is it difficult to have only one president? We forget about other presidents? Why
but
don't
Joe,
we?
you're talking about how have you benefited?
Yes,
Jeff
how
is
have you
asking
benefited, Joe?
Leave alone the terms of president.
No.
What have you got?
I've not benefited anything.
Nothing.
People who are even leaving football have got my debts. They have not even paid me. For those who are going.
Do you know something?
Go on.
Joe Kadenge, from 1963, he's staying at Mariakani. I grew up in Mariakani. That's where I met Joe as a young boy. Okay? So from 63 up to now, Joe is at Mariakani Estate. Okay? Now, why can't the government just spend, for instance, 20 million shillings today and say, Joe, this is yours.
Here's a house.
Okay?
Here's a house.
That's
Joe,
only, yeah.
hii ni yako. Kana watoto wako, vijukuu wote.
Hii ndio zawadi yako.
Kaa hapo.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? And it's easy. And they're watching that. Can they do it now? Okay?
If they're watching.
If they're watching.
But then, Abbas,
Yeah.
you hear stories in the papers, you know, people are being bribed for 200 million shillings. There's a scandal every
Yeah.
other day.
Yeah.
And then you people, nobody talks about you.
know-
Wanaiba watu, wanaiba.
What you can't imagine, Mr. Jeff, how they stole this money. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. Yeah.
Does it make you angry?
Very much. Yeah. You know, football money, there is no accountability.
I think
It
a
is from
high
FIFA.
time somebody steals money. Have you ever had a sports boss who has been running football, has stolen money and is jailed?
No, where?
Never.
Wapi?
We want to hear one day, so and so, Abbas has stolen money, is the chairman of what and what, is jailed for 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
Joe,
People-
not even the football.
People
not even the leaders.
Yeah.
Just ask yourself in Kenya, who has been jailed for stealing?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Okay?
Nobody.
Has anybody been jailed?
No.
No.
So that goes to show this is a corrupt country where the sports celebrities are overlooked. And we are saying, unless there is a revolution,
Yeah.
unless there's a revolution
And they take advantage, you don't talk.
in sports management
Nene,
in Kenya,
you have to talk.
that's what we are saying.
Yep.
There has to be a revolution in sports management, because what we're having right now are people who don't care about our
Others.
sportsmen and women, okay? So unless we have a revolution where, for instance, the Sports Act right now,
Yes.
the Sports Act from 2013, when it was enacted, what we're having are people in acting capacities, people who really don't care about sports.
No.
People are getting their cronies, okay, to various sports bodies
Yeah.
just within the Sports Act. So unless we get the right people, we are going nowhere.
Abbas, do you regret playing football? Do you regret or did you enjoy it?
I don't regret. Because, first of all, the fame, I got it. Yeah, until now, whenever I go, Jeff, everybody, Kenya one.
They all know you.
Any office I can go in, anybody will help me. But nothing I can show this I got it from football.
No monetary.
No,
There's nothing.
nothing.
But then you two were in South Africa during the World Cup. They honored you in South Africa.
Yes.
The South Africans.
We were greeted like kings.
Of course.
In South Africa.
Yep, first class.
Although they didn't give
Yep.
us money,
But-
there was nothing. But the treatment we got in South Africa, unbelievable.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. It
Unbelievable.
was unbelievable. That was one of my
Chauffeur, kila
best
kitu.
trips.
Everybody with his special car, Rolls Royce, him alone, me alone.
With the Mzungu driver.
Opening the gate. Yeah.
Guys are living well.
In fact, I
Flight,
think
Jeff, from Mombasa, Nairobi, Johannesburg.
what Abbas,
First class.
Abbas, what you're not telling us also, I think you're forgotten. Abbas Jeff
Yes.
is one of the players through his own initiative, and you know, Mswahili lazima azungumze.
Lazima.
Vipi bwana? Anajua kujitetea sana.
Yes.
Joe naye
Big mouth.
hajitetei.
Hajitetei?
Nilimwambia siku moja, Joe was with the president, the last president, when he was playing for Abaluya.
Yes.
That's when guys were getting land. So I'm asking Joe, why did you tell the president, mzee sina shamba? Angekuachia maeka. Joe
Joe-
ungekuwa na
Joe
eka.
hakuongea.
Joe hakuongea. Hajazoea kuomba.
Unaogopa kuomba.
Unaogopa